Okay, so the hot potato, that is vaccines. So in the UK, we give our dogs protection from parvo, hepatitis, distemper, and leptospirosis, which is a disease that's carried by rats. There, for many years, has been a vaccine called L2, which was given at 8 weeks and 10 weeks, protecting against lepto, and that's worked perfectly well for most dogs for many, many years. Recently, there's been a different strain of leptospirosis, and they've changed part of the vaccine to L4. And what that means is that the vaccine then needs to be split into 3 vials. So instead of doing 8 and 10 weeks, it needs to be 8, 10 and 12 weeks, or 8, 11 and 12 weeks, depending on your vet. 2 things. One is that by very nature of the fact that it has to be given 3 times means that it is a prolonged period before your dog can get out and about walking and mixing and socialising. 2, I think it probably goes some way to explaining how potent it is, that they can't just give it in 2 vaccines, they have to split it over 3. And somewhat controversially, I don't agree with the L4, the Lepto4. I think it's quite potent. I think for little puppies that can be quite sensitive, I think it's unnecessary. I don't think anybody that I would sell a puppy to is going to let their delightful little Sprudel puppy run around in a dirty canal or a dirty stinking lake where rats are, or anywhere where they're going to be able to pick this disease up, you know, from rats. And I think that L2 is perfectly sufficient and has worked in the UK for a good many years. Now, leptospirosis is a horrible disease, and it does make them blind, and it also can affect their hearing. I mean, it isn't a nice disease by any means. But the L2 vaccine has been perfectly good for many, many years. Now, if when the dog has its annual booster at 12 months, you wanted to upgrade to the L4, I think that's perfectly fine. I think the dog is older, bigger, it has a better immune system of its own, it's more mature physically and could take the extra strength of the L4. And when the dog's 12 months old, 18 months old, it's more likely to go off and swim in the canal and do all bits and pieces as it's gotten older and got more confident. More likely to pick stuff up in its mouth, and, you know, etc, etc. So an L4 vaccine at booster point may well be more appropriate. But here what we do is we wean our puppies at 7 weeks, so they will have an immunity from their mother's milk, which takes them probably naturally up until they're about 9 weeks of age. At 7.5 weeks, we vaccinate them for the first time, so that bolsters that immunity even further. Gives them a few days to get over it before they move house and come to you guys at 8 weeks. So that then takes them to the point where they have their second vaccine at 10 weeks, and a few days after that they can start going out for their walks. So their mother's immunity carries them through the period of the vaccine at 8 and 10 weeks and provides any holes in the coverage, basically, and gives them that little bit of extra protection. I would strongly advise against an L4. I think that the L4 vaccine can be given when they are 8 weeks of age. They can then move house, they can come to a new environment, their little systems, their little bodies has got to take on a whole new germ set. They're going to be running around your garden instead of our garden. They're not going to have the immunity from their mum. It's going to start to wane and start to drift off. You know, if they become stressed in their new environment for any reason, it's quite common for a puppy to become stressed. Their immunity will drop. Stress causes immunity to drop. If the immunity drops and then bam, you hit them with an L4 jab, you run the risk of having a poorly puppy. You know, the L2, yeah, okay, they're going to have to, you know, you're going to go along the same process, but it's just not as potent as the L4. And most people who are experienced dog owners And most people who breed, I know lots of breeders that have lost puppies to L4 vaccines. There seems to be some problems with it, so I would really implore you to find a local vet to yourselves who will give your puppy the L2. We are being pharmaceutically led as a nation, and of course the L4 has to be given over three vials, so it's 3 trips to the vet, therefore it's 3 consultation fees. Not that I'm cynical or anything. And it's more expensive, full stop. So we use L2 Canigen, which is made by a company called Novivac. So you need to go to your vets, find yourself an independent vet, not a large chain. Vets for Pets, don't go there. Go and find yourself an independent vet that runs their own practice, and you need to tell them that your puppy is going to need an L2 vaccine at 10 weeks or just after, and it is going to be Canigen made by Novivac. And it may take you a little while to find somebody who is prepared, especially if you live down south. It seems to be more of a problem. People in the north of the country don't seem to have so much of an issue. And here in Shropshire, we're kind of, you know, midpoint, aren't we? We're just outside the West Midlands, so we're literally the middle of the country. So yeah, you're going to need to spend some time ringing around and getting that sorted, but you will get it sorted, and there will be somebody locally to you that will offer the vaccine. You'll just have to make some phone calls. So I hope that makes vaccines a little clearer and gives you a little bit of an understanding of them. Obviously, any questions, drop me an email.